What happens when the city built for everyone decides it only wants the elite? Las Vegas, the dreamscape of neon, luck, and limitless possibility, was once the great equalizer. A place where the mailman and the millionaire could sit at the same blackjack table and believe, for one night, they were the same. But in 2025, the illusion cracked. Behind closed doors, casino CEOs began saying the quiet part out loud. They don't want regular people anymore. This isn't a rumor, it's on record, and the fallout has already begun. Stay with me, because what's happening in Vegas is bigger than one city. It's a warning. The confession. They finally said it out loud. It started with a sentence. Not from a whistleblower, not from an angry worker, but from the top. In May 2023, during a quarterly earnings call, Tom Reeg, CEO of Caesars Entertainment, laid out what might be the most revealing statement in the modern history of Las Vegas. Asked about his company's direction, he replied without hesitation, "We're kicking out the lowest end." Those 5 words changed everything. He didn't say, attracting higher-value guests. He didn't say, rebranding. He said, kicking out. It wasn't an accident. It was policy. Caesars, MGM, and others have adopted what insiders now call the velvet rope strategy. Fewer cheap tourists, more high-value clientele. In corporate language, that means wealthier gamblers, luxury travelers, and big-spending convention guests. In human language, it means working-class families and loyal middle-income tourists are being told they're no longer welcome. For decades, Las Vegas thrived on volume. Millions of everyday visitors filling cheap buffets, low-limit tables, and mid-tier hotels. They were the city's heartbeat. Now, CEOs like Reeg and MGM's Bill Hornbuckle describe those same guests as the lower end of the market. At a 2025 investor conference, Hornbuckle said the drop in visitors was mostly at the low-value end. He wasn't worried. He saw it as trimming the fat. But the fat, it turns out, was the flesh and blood of Vegas itself. Excalibur, Luxor, Circus. These weren't just hotels. They were symbols of an era when Vegas meant escape for everyone, not exclusivity for the few. The irony is brutal. As executives boast of upgrading the customer base, the Strip's foot traffic is falling and profits are thinning. This was the confession heard around the desert. Las Vegas, the city that once invited everyone to dream, has officially closed its doors to the people who made it thrive. And if you think the story ends there, wait until you see how they're enforcing it. The velvet rope strategy. How Las Vegas rebranded its soul. To understand what's happening in Las Vegas today, you have to imagine a velvet rope stretching across the Strip. Invisible, but unmistakably real. On one side, the CEOs, investors, and high-limit players. On the other, the millions who built this city's legend and are now being priced out of it. What began as a business strategy has quietly turned into social engineering. Casinos used to compete for crowds. Now, they filter them. The shift started with an obsession: higher-value guests. Reeg, Hornbuckle, and other executives describe it as a refinement of the customer base. To them, success isn't measured in the number of visitors anymore. It's the yield per head. They'd rather have one guest spending $10,000 than 100 spending $100 each. And so, the Strip transformed itself into a gated economy. You can see it everywhere. Room rates once accessible to middle-class families now come with $55 resort fees, plus 13% tax. Parking, once free to attract Californians on weekend getaways, now costs $20 to $25 a day. Even budget resorts like Excalibur and Luxor demand $45 nightly fees. In a single night across 90 hotels, you'd rack up $3,600 in resort fees alone. The velvet rope doesn't just block access, it redefines the experience. Tables that once offered $5 blackjack now start at $25, sometimes $50. The cheap buffet that made Vegas famous? Gone or replaced by $80 dining experiences. Even the free drinks that kept gamblers happy are disappearing. Watered down, delayed, or withheld, unless your player's card shows big losses. Casinos call it revenue optimization, but to many visitors, it feels like being pushed out of a city they once loved. And here's the irony: the strategy is working on paper. Average daily room rates and profits spiked, at first. But behind those numbers lies an unsettling truth. The Strip is emptier. The energy is fading. Locals describe it as a quiet luxury dystopia, glitzy but hollow, like a theme park where no one's laughing. Vegas didn't just raise prices, it raised walls. And those walls are starting to close in on the city's future. Because when the velvet rope tightens too far, even the high rollers start walking away. The price trap. When greed becomes the house edge. Casinos were built on the simple truth that the house always wins. But what happens when the house becomes so greedy that even the players stop showing up? That's exactly what's unfolding across the Las Vegas Strip. In December 2024, MGM Resorts quietly raised resort fees across all its properties. Bellagio, Aria, Vdara, and the Cosmopolitan now charge $55 per night before tax. That's over $62 a night in hidden costs. Mid-tier hotels like MGM Grand and Mandalay Bay hit $50. Even so-called budget resorts like Excalibur and Luxor joined the hike at $45. Add parking, and the picture turns absurd. $20 for self-parking on weekdays, $25 on weekends, $40 for valet. At Caesars properties, it's the same racket. $20 just to park your car while you lose money inside. For a city once known for generosity, cheap meals, free parking, free drinks, these surcharges feel like a betrayal. You're not welcomed into Vegas anymore. You're processed through it, and it doesn't stop there. Minimum bets on blackjack tables, once $5 or $10, have exploded. According to VegasAdvantage.com's 2025 survey, $25 minimums are now standard, jumping to $50 or even $100 on busy nights. Craps tables mirror that climb, and the last $5 tables? They've been exiled to locals' casinos miles off the Strip. Then there's the cost of simply staying hydrated. A beer runs $12 to $15. A cocktail? $25 to $30, even for something basic. Tourists interviewed by Fox News called it insanity. $14 coffees, $30 mixed drinks, $11 Coors Lights at poker bars. These aren't luxury craft cocktails. They're the same drinks you once got for free while playing. This is what economists call the captive audience effect. When you're already there, trapped in a resort ecosystem, they know you'll pay. And at first people did, but the math eventually turned against Vegas. As prices skyrocketed, visitation cratered. In mid-2025, NPR reported a 7.3% year-over-year drop in visitors, 1.5 million fewer tourists in 6 months. Hotel occupancy fell from 88% to 81%. Revenues per room dropped nearly 14%. The house was winning the short game, but losing the long one. Vegas tried to turn affordability into a luxury. Instead, it turned loyalty into resentment. And as tourists began staying away, another problem emerged: empty tables, silent floors, and a city that suddenly remembered it needs the very people it pushed out. The empty tables. When the music stops in the city that never sleeps. For decades, the heartbeat of Las Vegas came from the sound of chips clinking, dice rolling, and cocktail glasses clattering against marble bars. But in 2025, something eerie is happening on the Strip. You can walk through parts of major resorts at midnight and hear nothing. This is the new Vegas soundtrack: silence. After years of price hikes, fees, and corporate arrogance, the visitors simply stopped coming. According to the Las Vegas Convention and Visitors Authority, Visitor volume plunged by over 1.5 million in the first half of 2025, a 7.3% year-over-year drop. In June alone, the city lost nearly 400,000 tourists, down 11.3% from the same month a year prior. At Harry Reid International Airport, arrivals fell by 9%, meaning about 1.2 million fewer people flying in. Behind every statistic is a table sitting empty, a dealer waiting for players who never show. Casino floors that once felt electric now flicker like ghost towns. Revenue per available room dropped nearly 14%, and even the high-end properties, the Bellagio, Aria, the Cosmopolitan, have cooled after their brief post-pandemic boom. Strip gaming revenue fell 3.9% in May 2025 to $713 million. Slot revenue dropped 5.4%, and Baccarat, the game of the rich, plunged by 10%. Here's the irony. The very strategy designed to make casinos more profitable has drained the lifeblood out of them.
You can't charge premium prices without premium demand, but corporate Vegas forgot that demand isn't built on exclusivity, it's built on experience. Locals notice it first. Dealers are getting fewer shifts. Bartenders complain that tip jars sit nearly empty. Rideshare drivers say weekend traffic is lighter than it's been in years. And small business owners, from show vendors to bar musicians, describe it bluntly. The Strip feels tired. The story of Vegas used to be one of resilience. Recessions, scandals, even pandemics, it always bounced back. But this time, the emptiness feels different. It's not caused by crisis. It's caused by choice. Las Vegas chose its new customer, and in doing so, lost its old soul. But while the Strip's lights dim, another world is flashing brighter than ever. One where the casino never closes, the drinks are digital, and the odds are just a click away. The online migration. The new casino lives in your pocket. When Las Vegas built its empire, it didn't just sell gambling, it sold escape. You packed a bag, hopped on a plane, and stepped into a world of lights, noise, and endless possibility. But in 2025, you don't need to fly anywhere. The escape now fits in the palm of your hand. As the Strip chases millionaires, the middle class has quietly moved online. According to the American Gaming Association, U.S. online gaming revenue hit $1.78 billion in July 2025. A 20.8% increase from the year before. The entire U.S. online gambling market, valued at $12.6 billion in 2024, is projected to grow nearly 10% annually through 2030. Translation? While Vegas loses visitors, digital casinos are minting them. Players can log in from anywhere, Dallas, Boise, Buffalo, and get the same rush of blackjack or slots without the flights, fees, or $25 cocktails. Platforms now feature live dealers, 3D tables, interactive chat, and themed tournaments streamed in real time. The experience isn't just convenient, it's competitive. And here's the devastating truth. Online casinos offer better odds. With no billion-dollar real estate to maintain, their overhead is microscopic. They can afford higher slot paybacks, lower house edges, and better comps. In Vegas, 3-2 blackjack is nearly extinct. Online, it's the standard. The psychology has flipped. In the old Vegas model, gamblers endured long odds in exchange for the atmosphere, the music, the crowds, the magic. But when that magic got buried under resort fees and $100 tables, players stopped seeing the point. Industry insiders admit it privately. Vegas has become complacent. The Strip behaves like it owns the monopoly on fun. Online casinos, by contrast, know they have to earn every single click. When one app annoys you, you switch to another. No penalties, no parking fees, no velvet rope. And the generational divide is widening. Younger gamblers, Gen Z and millennials, grew up playing Fortnite, not feeding quarter slots. To them, a digital casino doesn't feel artificial, it feels natural. Vegas, meanwhile, feels old-fashioned.
In 2025, the casino capital of the world discovered that its biggest competitor wasn't Macau or Monaco. It was the phone sitting on your nightstand. But the exodus from the Strip didn't end online. It continued down the highway, to smaller cities, quieter casinos, and communities that still remember what value means.
The regional rebellion, when the small casinos strike back. The biggest threat to Las Vegas isn't a new mega resort or a billion-dollar online platform. It's the quiet comeback of the locals' casinos, the off-strip outposts and regional gaming towns that Vegas once dismissed as second tier. As the Strip priced out the middle class, cities like Laughlin, Mesquite, and Reno Tahoe quietly opened their doors. According to Nevada's own gaming reports, Laughlin's casino revenue jumped 17% in May 2025. Mesquite rose 9.7%. Across the border, tribal casinos in California, Arizona, and New Mexico are posting double-digit gains. The message is unmistakable. When Vegas turns people away, they find somewhere else to play. It's not hard to see why. At regional casinos, $5 craps tables still exist. Blackjack starts at $10. You can park for free, grab a beer for $6, and actually talk to the dealer. Rooms cost a third of what you'd pay on the Strip, and the staff remember your name. The atmosphere feels less like an algorithm and more like a community. These aren't just budget alternatives, they're cultural counter-movements. In Laughlin, retirees filled the floors on weekdays. In Oklahoma and Mississippi, tribal casinos are expanding into full-scale resorts with pools, live concerts, and buffets. Precisely the things Vegas has been abandoning. Even in small-town markets, operators have learned the lesson Vegas forgot. Volume matters. A packed $10 table with happy players generates more energy, tips, and return business than an empty $100 table bathed in silence. It's economics and emotion. When people feel welcomed, they spend more. The corporate titans in Las Vegas saw these places as irrelevant, but the numbers now suggest the opposite. Regional casinos are profiting from Vegas's arrogance. In state after state, gaming tax receipts are up, while Clark counties are stagnating or falling. In a way, the regional rebellion is poetic justice. The very towns that once looked up to Las Vegas as the model are now teaching it how to survive. They remembered that gambling isn't just about odds and margins, it's about belonging. And as the smaller casinos rise, a deeper divide is forming, not just between cities but between classes, because the new Vegas dream doesn't include everyone anymore. The class divide. When Vegas forgot who built it. There was a time when Las Vegas was the great equalizer. A plumber from Phoenix could sit beside a lawyer from Los Angeles, each holding the same chips, each taking the same chance. That illusion, that for one weekend everyone was a high roller, was the city's true magic. But in 2025, that illusion is gone. Vegas has drawn a line in the sand, and it's not made of neon. What the CEOs call market segmentation has become something much darker: economic segregation. The Strip has been carved into zones of privilege. The luxury resorts, the Bellagio, Aria, Wynn, target the global elite, convention executives and influencers. Mid-tier properties have been hollowed out, stripped of comps, cheap eats, and affordable tables. The budget tier? Effectively erased. Tom Reeg's infamous phrase, "kicking out the lowest end," wasn't just corporate strategy. It was a cultural verdict. The message is clear. Vegas no longer belongs to the everyday dreamer. The consequences ripple far beyond the casino floor. Working-class visitors once made Vegas hum. They tipped generously, supported small shows, filled restaurants, and returned year after year. Now, with fewer of them coming, the city's service workers are the ones paying the price. Fewer shifts, thinner tips, declining hours. The very people who built Vegas's reputation for service excellence are being squeezed out by the same system that profits from their labor. At the top end, even the wealthy are restless. MGM's CEO Bill Hornbuckle
admitted that luxury properties like the Bellagio and Cosmopolitan have cooled off from their 2023 highs. Because here's the cruel irony. Rich gamblers don't have loyalty. They have options. If Vegas becomes inconvenient or overpriced, they'll fly to Macau, Monaco, or Singapore, where the service still feels personal.
The old Vegas ran on connection. The new Vegas runs on calculus. And yet, beneath the surface, resentment is building. Middle-class tourists feel betrayed. Locals feel abandoned. Even employees, from pit bosses to bartenders, quietly describe a city losing its humanity. Vegas was once the dream of democracy by way of dice, a place where anyone could win. Now, it's a gated playground for the few, surrounded by a desert of disillusion. But dreams have a way of haunting those who betray them, because the same corporate logic that divided the Strip is now eating away at its foundation. And as that foundation cracks, Vegas faces its final, most dangerous gamble yet: its own future. The future of Vegas. Can the city of dreams survive its own greed? Every empire believes it's invincible, until the crowds stop coming. Las Vegas was built on reinvention. It's survived recessions, pandemics, even moral panics. But what it's facing now isn't a temporary downturn. It's an identity crisis. At its core, the Vegas model depends on volume, millions of visitors filling hotels, restaurants, and casino floors. But the current strategy, fewer guests paying higher prices, is breaking that engine. In the first half of 2025, every key metric fell simultaneously: visitor counts, occupancy, gaming revenue, and airport traffic. The numbers aren't abstract, they're a warning light flashing on the dashboard of an overextended machine. City officials and tourism boards are scrambling. They're promoting Formula One, the Super Bowl, and mega conventions as salvation. But even these headline events expose the city's fragility. When the party ends, rooms sit empty again. The cost of spectacle can't sustain a city forever. Meanwhile, the very workers who made Vegas world-class are being priced out of living there. Median rents have risen faster than wages, and inflation has turned a dealer's tip jar into a relic. What good are luxury towers when the people who run them can't afford the city's zip code? Still, there's a faint pulse beneath the neon. The locals' casinos are busy again. Community-driven tourism, off-strip restaurants, music venues, and boutique hotels is growing. Perhaps that's where Vegas will find its redemption, not in billion-dollar corporate strategies, but in remembering its roots. Vegas doesn't need another mega-resort. It needs meaning. Because a city that once promised anyone can win cannot survive by telling most people they're no longer invited. Las Vegas isn't dead, it's drifting. But if it doesn't find its way back to the people who made it legendary, the lights will stay on only as decoration, not as invitation. Vegas must decide, does it still believe in luck or only in profit? What do you think? Comment below.